So new laptop, so I had to get everything set up. My last laptop, apparently I spilled a can of orange soda and the fans for cooling are on the bottom and it sucked the soda up into it. So that's
killed it dead.
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, it didn't even stand a chance.
Yeah. No, I've used laptop before.
I mean, part of me was like, oh, I could put it in rice, right? Like we used to do with the phones when we drop them in the fish tank, but yeah, there was no chance. Yeah, that'd be a whole lot of rice.
40-pound bags.
Well, it would have been better if it wasn't on when it happened.
Yeah, I kind of figured that one out the hard way. So
electric current and moisture like that with lots of electrolytes.
Yeah,
Probably not good.
I mean, it was diet orange soda at least, so maybe we were short some electrolytes or fake electrolytes. I don't know. All right.
It's the citric acid and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started up today. So today we're going to start off with our typical member meeting, and then we're going to segue into the annual All I Want for Christmas extravaganza. I'm pinch hitting for Keith tonight. He won't be able to make it. And so to break up you get to listen to me for two things. We'll probably have a little bathroom break in between so we can refresh our brain and go from there. All right, so thank you everybody for coming today. Any members or any new members or guests? Welcome. Hey guys, glad to have you guys here. So today was our member meeting. This last time I'll see you guys before Thanksgiving. I usually try and put up some sort of theme to like the month, and I Googled Turkey Nebula and I came up this, and I'm like, well, and then I went, all right, oh, come on. I did this. I went, there we go. And then I did this. Look at that. See? I'm on board with that. Anyways, Thanksgiving's coming up. So hopefully you guys have some good time with your family and loved ones, safe travels and all that stuff. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started up today. I know that we had the minutes for the last couple of meetings go out. Has anybody had a chance to look over those? And if so, any questions on the goings on of the last couple of meetings? All right, moving on. As far as members go, I checked in today and we're at 212 members. So we're increasing little by little. It goes up and down as people pay their dues or don't pay their dues. But we've been above around 200 for quite a while now. So that's pretty good. Is Theo here? Theo, are you online? Can't see my.
Yes, I am.
Oh, hi, Theo. For some reason, I lost my images. All right. What do we got? Treasurer's report.
So we have a little bit of money. We have total bank balance is 9,105.14. And what we've spent money on since the last meeting was $17.47 for the Zoom account. We ordered some handbooks, and we spent $500 on the Next Star telescope. So that's about it. We had some poster sales and member dues from the last meeting. PayPal's got $426.95 in it. So yeah, we're doing all right.
Awesome. Thank you for that. As she mentioned, we did make a decision to buy a new telescope for the club to loan out. It's a Nexstar SE. Is it an 8? 8 SE.
Yeah,
it's an 8 SE.
8 SE.
Yep. So that'll show up in our to be borrowed thing here eventually. So we're excited to have that coming. So just real quick, upcoming business. I wanted to hit on these before, so we made sure that we got it before everybody started bolting on me. Our next member meeting is the 18th of December, so a little less than a month away. It'll be here. It's our annual potluck and silent auction, and so BSAS will provide the main courses. And if you're wanting to enjoy, feel free to bring side dish or dessert, whatever you would like. I'm a big fan of pie, so pie, yay. I'm sure everybody else has their enjoyments as well. You don't have to bring anything, but we'd love it if you could join us and bring something. For the silent auction, if you have anything that's just sitting around, maybe you get a new telescope and this one's collecting dust, or your wife just wants something out of the corner, feel free to bring it in, donate to the club. The dues and the money we make towards this help us, rent things out and potentially even buy new equipment and keep up updating things. So it's really a good time, and it's a fun experience when we get together with people. And then, Bud, do we typically start that at 6:30?
Typically, yeah.
Yeah. So the big note here is that the potluck will start around 6:30. And so usually when this happens, we have things that people are putting up for the silent auction back here, and we'll kind of eat, and people will mosey and eyeball people looking at the same stuff they are, and then write down their bids for the silent auction. And then we'll eat. While we're eating, our guest speaker is Celia Torrell. She's a Vanderbilt University grad student. We actually heard from fellow grad students of hers talking about the nanograv. It was actually, I was looking, and it was actually last December's talk. So I was like, oh, I don't know how that managed to line up. I saw her I didn't see her, but I saw her flyer. She did an astronomy on tap just recently. And so she was talking about demystifying math in terms of astronomy and things like that. And she does research on nanograv and looking at the theory of relativity and beyond. So she's going to give us a talk about that at the next member meeting too. So I'm pretty excited for that. Also coming up at the next member meeting, we'll have our board elections, which we have every year, and we'll talk about that here in a second. In terms of 2025, so hard to believe it's a little over a month away that we're talking about next year. If you have any thoughts or recommendations for Star Party locations or speaker recommendations, we're still filling out the calendars for the year. Love to hear your thoughts. If you don't know of anybody that you would like to hear from, but you have a topic that you would like to hear about, we're all ears, and would love to hear your opinions and thoughts, because we're kind of just going off of what I enjoy right now. So I'm happy to hear what you guys are after. The club newsletter, Drew has been working on this for a while for us, and we need to give him a break. And so if anybody here has experience with newsletters or would like to jump in and figure it out, every month we put out the clips, and if you have an interest in helping, that would be a great place. Just send us an email or get in touch with us here or through our Google group, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then finally down here, I have board members. So for 2025, this is what our election is going to be for new board members. Currently, the 2024 board members, sorry about that. We have groups of officers and directors at large. I'm the president, Tom Beckerman, and then Vice President Steve Hughes over here. Theo, who is joining us a la Zoom, Bud here up front, and Keith, who was the previous president. He can't be here today. And then we have a group of directors at large. And so the officers rotate, or their terms are 1 year. So we vote everybody for that, vote every year for that. And the directors at large typically serve a 3-year rotation. And so these are the people that have been helping run this show. So thank you everybody for this. Coming up for 2025, what we're voting on are officers. So this will be next meeting, and potentially 2 positions for directors at large. So there's 2 at-large positions that are currently vacant. And so if you're interested in helping serve on the board in a capacity or another, if anybody would like join in for the officer vote, we can do that. So please send me an email or send us a message and let us know if you're interested, because the more people we can have in decisions, the better off things run. So keep that in mind. So this vote will happen next meeting. I'll probably send out another email like maybe at the beginning of December, kind of poking and see if anybody's interested. Okay. Any questions?
It's not a hard job.
Yeah, it's we meet once a month. It's usually over Zoom. The first Wednesday of the month from 7:30 to 8:30. It's usually photo bombed by my kids trying to go to bed, but it's not bad. Yeah.
What is the responsibility for the directors at large?
How much responsibility do you no just so we're basically going in there and we're talking about upcoming places where we're going to meet, upcoming star parties, any business like outreach that we're doing. Sometimes we get requests for outreach, and so we try and coordinate those. We talk about where we're going to host star parties and things like that, and things like the potluck. What meat are we going to have, right? So just the general ongoings of it. So if you have questions, we can chat about it later. So good. Perfect. Any other
Also,
questions?
a
Yeah,
question
go.
about the silent auction.
Yeah.
Could be kind of anything like a gift card or.
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, we've trying to think. We had a whole bunch of books come through. We've had board games. Things. Yeah, whatever you would like to donate.
December.
Yeah, that night of. Yep. Yeah, I don't think they'd let you in because I think they lock us out. Yeah. Winter and that.
They should like it.
Now, that being said, December and January, there's a reason that this is closed to the public, and just in case of inclement weather. If we can figure it out before time ahead of time, we'll try and figure out scheduling wise, but fingers crossed that we don't get any nastiness in December. So we'll stay on top of that so we can move forward. Any other questions? Awesome. All right. So as you'll see here, we have links to all of our sites. I spent a lot of time going down rabbit holes and built some QR codes because I'm like, yeah, people can type these into their phone or onto whatever, or they can just take their phone out and snag a picture and get to where we need to go. So trying to make it a little bit user friendly for us as these presentations go on. If you're not familiar, this is our website, bsasnashville.com. There's a whole host of things on here, next star parties, next member meeting, public star parties, a lot of good stuff. I always put this up here because we have some posters left. Hey, Theo, how many posters do we have left?
Oh, plenty. I would say 35-ish. I
35.
mean, so there's plenty of them, and I'm happy to bring them. I should have been there tonight, but for various reasons not. But anyway, I usually bring a couple to the meetings, so folks can pick them up if they want. But yeah, there's plenty.
Yeah,
Great Christmas gift.
They are great Christmas gifts. That's what we're talking about now. So if you catch Theo in person, they're 20. If you would like her to mail them to you, they're 25. And if you collect Hatch Show prints, this is a special image that they created just for us. So yeah. The dimensions are awkward, as all hatch prints are. I know there was like a 17.5 in there. Theo, do you know what the other dimension is?
I could probably measure it real quick, but what I had to cut off to get it to fit into a standard frame, I had to cut like a 1/2 inch off the top, and I just shaved like a 1/4 off the top and bottom, and that worked.
Yeah. So, but they look really nice because it's nice and golden embossed. So as a typical hatch.
Let me grab this.
I'm sure Theo, are you going to make it next month?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she'll bring one next month so we can see that. Couple things that I want to point out on the page. This Nashville Clear Sky chart is pretty valuable. So if you're planning on going out sometime during the week, you can kind of take a look, and it's got a good 4-day forecast. I put this together last night. Pretty accurate for last night. And then as I was coming in today, I looked up, and the darker the better, right? So it's clear skies right now. So it's a really good tool. It tells you what scene you should be able to see. Now here in Nashville, there's a lot of white and gray simply because we have lights, right? But don't let that fool you. We could still see some cool stuff in our urban areas and outside those urban areas. So that's always fun. And then over here, can't really see, but it says become a member. So if you're interested in becoming a member, we have that link there. And if you click on it, it'll take you here. There's some member benefits we have, that Eclipse newsletter that I mentioned. You get discounts to astronomy and sky and telescope magazines, which I need to re-up mine. Become a member of the Astronomical League, and that gets you another magazine sent to you, the Reflector, which is pretty good. You get a vote in the elections, right? So coming up in December, and then invitation to private star parties. And so that's when we all get together without public, and we get to play with our own toys and check things out. We have a variety of memberships, individuals 25, families 35, if I remember. Family
Yes,
30, 35, yeah, somewhere around there.
35, and then
Yeah.
seniors are 20.
Yep. Also, great Christmas present, right? If you have a loved one that
Right.
you want to send them out, it's right there. So also built that QR code too. So that should take you to this. Yeah.
Also loader equipment member benefit.
Yeah.
Is that up there?
It will be in a second.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got you.
it's not on the website. Yeah. So this is our newsletter, The Eclipse. This is also where we're interested in some help. Again, if you're familiar with newsletters, do things through a couple different programs, but we definitely would train you. Again, we'd really be interested in some help.
Excuse me, Tom?
Yeah,
Tom? Mike Ryan here.
Hi, Mike.
Did we make a change in the club? Because for the last at least a couple of months, I don't remember seeing a link to the current eclipse for the month. Is that something that we've stopped doing?
I am not aware that we
I
actually.
assume it's available online. I
Oh yeah, there it
looked
is.
last, I think, but the most current one wasn't there. So
Yeah, I haven't clicked on it lately because I usually just get them in my emails. But that is something we can check out in terms of people that have the keys to the website.
Well,
yeah, I don't think I've seen one since, I'm gonna guess, since
been doing-
September.
delaying the eclipse for a month or two. So the members get it first,
Gotcha.
and then later it pops up on the website
Okay,
and anybody can get it.
gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, we'll check on that and make sure it's staying up to date. But as a member, you should be getting it in your email. And if you haven't gotten it in your email me, and we can figure that out. Is that good,
Okay,
Mike?
appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So also one of the perks of being a member is we have loaner equipment. Here's a QR code if you wanted to go to the available equipment that we have. Soon to be added is the 8SE, but we have it's part of your membership dues. You get to borrow it before you buy it, which is a pretty good thing. So you don't come home with this and realize that that's a little too big to put in my Honda. Let us know if you do borrow one, how you're going with it, what's your interactions with it. Are you enjoying it? Are you thinking it's too big or it's too small? You get aperture fever. Let us know how these things are going. If you have one and it's checked out, if you're hearing me over the waves or in here, let us know. If there's anything we can help with. We would love it if people that have the equipment, if they could make it out to star parties. I know we've started seeing some. It's pretty awesome seeing our members out there with scopes interacting with the public, because that's what we love doing, sharing the sky with others. So again, that should take you to the list. I've checked most of these QR codes, so I apologize if it takes you somewhere random, but I was pretty good with those websites. All right. On our socials, you can find us all over the place. On Facebook, we're rocking and rolling thanks to Donna. 2.3 thousand likes, 2.6 thousand followers, which is holding steady. So we have a couple posts on there, a couple posts a day, depending on how busy we are. Here, one of our members, Chris, shared a beautiful image of the Turkey Nebula here, and we'll see that coming up again shortly. But we like to, highlight our members whenever we can. We are on Instagram as well. If you would like your pictures posted up on our Instagram channel, if you'd like us to share it with you, we would love to do that. If you do have an Instagram page and you would like some props, some direction to your site, send us your Instagram handle, right? So we can credit you and they can click on you and find your work. Okay. If you're interested in being featured or having us put your images up, you can email us at info@bsasnashville.com or go through the Google groups and we can get you taken care of. On X, the letter that used to be known as Twitter, we are on there as well at BSAS Nashville. We post, we do a lot of sharing on there. And as I go through these, I'm sure I've been doing this a while. People know that I kind of go down rabbit holes. We had this post up here a couple days ago, 10 days ago that we shared, and it came up to something I'd never heard of, the Hesiodus ray. Apparently, this is the Hesiodus crater here. And what they're looking at is a little split where when the sun rises, kind of shines through there. And so I started digging. And so here you can see this crater, and there's like a little hole here. When the light hits it perfect, it kind of shines through. And, you know, it's one of those things that you have to catch it. You know, it's only available for a couple hours whenever the skies align and everything. So to give you reference, Tycho's over here, and like, you know, we can kind of get direction from there. And then again, I started digging. Apparently there's a whole bunch of weird things that people are finding on the moon. This is an old city that somebody has kind of said, hey, it looks like an old city, the wall work. Here's where you'd find the lunar V and the lunar X during the first quarter. You know, it happens every couple months that you can catch those. Couple faces in here. Here's where that Hesiodus ray is. Eyes and faces, this pair of scissors, right? So all sorts of fun things to find on the moon.
What is the lunar V and X? What does that mean?
So the lunar V and lunar X, whenever the terminator hits this area just right, there's a couple craters and valleys and stuff, and the peaks of those craters get lit up before the rest of it. And so you actually highlight what actually looks like a V up here. So like kind of creates a small V, and then down here, that little area makes an X. And so when the sun hits it, it just kind of highlights those peaks. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see. If you get on the Google groups, we have a lot of posts because it's happened a bit frequently this year, actually. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool to, you know, little targets that seeing what's up there. Now, on Google groups, this is how we communicate with or spend a lot of time communicating with the members. Here you find you know, different meeting places, different activities, pop-up star parties that you only would find out about if you're in the Google groups. If you would like to get access to groups, you can click, you know, take a picture of that, or there's a link for a discussion board on the website. If you click on that link or go there and it says you don't have access to it, email us and we'll get you in. It's a pretty cool place. People share things all the time. Theo posted about the lunar observing program, and since we just went through all that stuff with the moon, I wanted to show what Theo posted, right? So I knew there was a man in the moon. I may have known that there's a woman in the moon. I'm still debating on how this is a rabbit, but this is
Oh, you
moon.
cannot unsee
I mean,
the
I
rabbit.
guess-
You can't.
So what is that a tail up there? I don't know.
That is a tail. Yes,
That's
that's
the
his
tail?
cute little furry tail.
Hmm. All right.
Ears up at the top.
Okay. Now I see it. So that's the nose down on the left.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's the tail there. All right. Now I see. All right. I'm good. All right. So the lunar observing program, you get to find cool things like this. We'll talk about it towards the end again. But it's something to do as we're cursing out the moon because we like dark skies. So when it's nice and bright, it gives us an activity. Steve posted something from Dr. Sebastian Voltmer. I hadn't heard of this gentleman, but then again, I fell down a wormhole. This is a cool video that he took of the ISS, and this is from his backyard.
Wow.
There you can see the dragon. I was going to show the video, but figured just a screen cap would be great. He also took an image. There's an astronaut right there from his backyard, right? So
An 11-inch.
yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah. I was pretty excited when I caught Andromeda with my cell phone. So I still get excited when that happens. This is next level. So if you're interested, he has an Instagram, Sebastian Voltmer, but he also has a YouTube page and all sorts of stuff. He does a lot of really good photography. All right. Also on the Google groups, Chris Klugowicz is here. Chris? No, he's the one who shared our picture of M4D2 Orion Nebula. It's a really gorgeous picture. In his post, he mentioned he went to a dark sky site and got some editing, not necessarily training, but help in learning how to adjust some things. And it turned out to be a really beautiful picture. So thank you, Chris, for sharing that. And so the last place where you can find us is the Night Sky Network. This is what we use to run our membership and our rosters. So in order to become a member, you'll go through here and create an account, and it's up here. It'll say register. It's free to register, and then you'll go back to our website and then pay the dues, and we'll sync you up here and add you to the roster. And that's how we send out the emails to the club. Well, whenever it's the big, like, hey, we have a member meeting coming up, or big announcements like that. What I love about the Night Sky Network as I continue diving into things is that there's a lot of really cool material and articles. Here's one, astrophotography with your smartphone, right? Like I just said, I could take a picture of Andromeda, but here they're talking about, putting your cell phone up to a telescope, right? And so this is an image out of a C8. That's pretty good with the iPhone 6, right? So I've actually been thinking about that. Like I've got an old iPhone, trying to maybe resurrect it, like just attach it permanently to a mount of some kind. But that's pretty good at that Terminator. So the things that technology is allowing us to do is pretty amazing. Also on the Night Sky Network, there's a host of resources like outreach resources and a planner. And so these are great because if we have a star party and you're feeling like, I don't have anything to talk about, you can click on one of these links and it brings you up a ton of articles and things that are going on in the sky. Like right now, Mars is starting to make its way up in the evening sky. And this gives a night sky guide. There's a little video and it kind of talks about why it's coming up now and when's going to be the best time to see it as it makes its way around. There's also star charts that gives binocular highlights. And so binocular highlights are great because you can see these also with a not so powerful telescope. So for people that are from the public that are just coming in, showing them these kind of cool things, really can open up some eyes. So really good tools and resources for observing. There's also stuff about the moon, right? So this was yesterday. We were 78% full, and so it's waning, so it's slowly coming back this way. And there's also links to a clear sky chart, which is sort of what we have on our page, and the spot the station sign up, so you get alerts when the station comes by. So fun things like that. So there's a lot of really cool tools on there, and so I highly recommend checking it out. This is tonight. I put this, where'd that go? I put this up here. Oh, I guess it's not coming up. This is tonight. I put this up here because it looks like a pretty cool grouping, the moon, Mars, and the beehive cluster. There was an image here that looked pretty cool, but I may throw my telescope out on the porch whenever I get home to catch that. So there's always some cool things out there. All right, questions so far? May feel like I'm rushing because I want to make sure we get to our Christmas thing, the fun part. As far as past events and outreach, we had a private star party scheduled for November 2nd. From what I gathered from the Google groups, we hadn't made it. We have another private star party coming up here shortly. I'll mention that in a little bit. I don't know why that says November 3rd at 2 a.m. I don't know. Oh, that was daylight savings time. So that was an important event because now our nighttime starts earlier. So I'm always excited about that. We had a public star party scheduled for the 9th at Warner Park, but we got rained out. Unfortunate common theme. And then I wanted to bring up Steve's been doing a lot in the Google groups with these pop-up star parties. He had one on October 29th and November 12th, which was last week. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, last week. And seems to be getting some good popularity. A lot of people showing up.
Well, not quite as many as last time, but it was still good. We still had about, pretty sure there, we had maybe 10, 12, 15 people, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
We had 3 scopes there, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a convenient location because it's, you know, it's mid-Franklin, so
Yeah.
it's convenient for that area, you know.
Yeah, so if you're wanting something more southern, these pop-up star parties are great because it is in Franklin. We don't have really any star party sites south yet. So it's a great place to go if you're local to that area. As far as things upcoming, oh yeah, this was a picture Steve posted from his last pop-up star party. Another beautiful image of Andromeda. You can see, nice. I always love Andromeda. All right. Upcoming events on November 30th, so 10 days from now, we have a private star party scheduled at Water Valley. The sunset's at 4:30, so if you need sunlight to set things up, you have to get there a little early. So keep that in mind. With the private star parties, you do need a permit from that's available on our Google Groups. You just click on it and you can download it to your phone. And as long as you're out there, you have a copy of that. When the rangers come by, you can be like, I'm supposed, or I can be here, and hopefully they don't roust you. But that's Water Valley Overlook is our darkest site that we have access to as a club. So hopefully I'm thinking I may be able to make that one because my semester is getting close to an end, so I can start getting out again. Our next public star party is the 7th of December. It's at Shelby Bottoms from 6 to 8 because sunset's getting earlier, so Shelby Bottoms can move a little bit earlier. So keep that in mind. It's usually a pretty well attended one. Again, hopefully weather allows us to do that. And then finally, we're rounding out the year. On the 28th, we have a private star party out on the Natchez Trace again. This time it's a little bit closer to Bellevue, to the Bellevue area, a little bit past the bridge. But it's still darker than what we get here. So, but it's still fun to be out there. Keep in mind, getting towards December 28th might be a little chilly, so make sure you're bundled appropriately. All right, coming up in the night sky. I usually put these up here and highlight one or two things, but since we've been talking about the moon, I don't know how often it happens. We get December 15th and November 15th, both of them full moon. So it's like, thought they were supposed to be like 28 days, but I don't know how that worked. But as I mentioned earlier, that lunar observing program, here you can find the requirements. And so the Astro League puts out these programs that we can do, like there's an urban viewing program, so you can see what's out under your city skies. This is part of the lunar observing program that Theo posted about. Kind of tells you how you could earn this pin or this certificate, right? That's what people really love. And then over here are these special objects that I mentioned last time. The rabbit in the moon, not sure where that was, and I didn't know quite literally where the woman, I knew she was up there. And then as I was looking through here, I'm like, a cow jumping over the moon, seriously? And so I went and found it. I don't know. Anybody? I don't.
A polar bear.
Yeah, I was thinking a bear maybe, right? But yeah, so somebody called that the cow jumping over the moon. So joys of that. Now I like this one, rabbit in the moon making rice cakes. I think that we're getting out of hand. All right. Any questions for club business?
Okay, so just a real quick, somebody asked about the poster size. It's approximately 23 by 15 inches. And that's not the poster measurement. I'm trying to measure the frame that I've got it in here. I don't think I've seen an eclipse since September either. I see the October edition though in the website files, so I've resent that on Night Sky Network. I do not see a November edition though, so
That's what I saw as well. I saw in my email an October edition, but I didn't see actually, yeah, because I went through and played with the dates to see if there was a November, but I did find October.
Okay, I didn't find October in mine, so I don't know what happened there, but
Gotcha.
and then
Excuse me,
let's
Theo, I
see.
checked too, and I did not, I do see the September email coming from Barnard Seaford email, but I did not see a October.
Okay,
There's
so
also-
I resent that, so we'll see if that if that goes through.
Thank you.
Then on the subject of star parties, if I know there was some interest in Sharp Springs down in Smyrna, and if somebody would like to go down and drop the pin where you think we would be in the park, and then if somebody could talk to City Hall about it and say, hey, if you're interested, let me know and I'll give you dates that might be good for that. And say, hey, this is what we'd like to do. The park, their listed closure time is 9 p.m. And I don't know if there's a gate or something that, if we left later than their closing time, we'd have to close behind us. But anyway, that'd be the sort of thing where we'd have to talk to the nice parks people and find out.
Gotcha. Well, thank you. I'll look into it as well. I vaguely know where it is. I know Keith mentioned it. Maybe we could tap him as well to go in there and see. But yeah, so Theo helps out with a lot of the scheduling. So thank you, Theo, for that. All right. How do we feel? We want to take a fiver, stand up, stretch legs, or just keep going? All right, we're gonna keep going. All right. So like I said, Keith typically runs the show for the All I Want for Christmas. And so he was kind enough to send me on his slides. As I mentioned, I fall down wormholes. I tried to restrain myself on things that I would like for Christmas. But I've added a few things here and there, and I'll bring those up. But Keith puts in a lot of work for these. Some of these are staples with updated prices because a good telescope, it'll last a while if you take care of it. So stocking stuffers to telescopes. So starting off with telescopes, there's a whole variety of these. It can be somewhat daunting to go, what do I want out of a telescope? Because there's so many different types: Dobbs, reflectors, refractors, SCPs, digital scopes, the new automated ones, or solar scopes. And so depending on what you're interested in, we actually have a handful of these available to borrow, right? If you're interested, again, to see how you would like these. There's a whole host or a whole range of scopes that you can purchase. You typically don't want to give a kid a couple $1,000 telescope. And so, just getting them interested in the hobby, you want to get them at least some sort of a quality instrument, because if you get them one from maybe one of the box stores that has horrible optics and a little fuzzy, it can ruin a fascination pretty quick. And so there's a few of these that we recommend, that little tabletop things, or like a little Next Star here, that are really good for decent optics, and they don't weigh much, they don't cost too much, and they're great for beginners, and typically run about under 400, right? So these are fairly portable and easy to maintain. Celestron has a kind of user-friendly series called the StarSense series. What they do is they use your cell phone to attach to these, and you use the GPS from your cell phone, and it tells you what you're potentially looking at. If I want to look at the Orion Nebula, it tells me, all right, turn this way, all right, up, down. And so it's got a little, gets access, or you have an app on here that links into it, and you just follow that app. And so it's pretty cool, that technology, and they're relatively cheap. This Newtonian 114 is 200. This refractor, so this was when Keith put this together. So Thanksgiving is later this year, which means Black Friday is later this year. So all the Black Friday sales are starting soon, as in, like, I've heard a lot about tomorrow, the 21st. So this one's already $50 off compared to it. So not a bad price here. Yeah, so keep on the lookout, because these prices could change, right? Celestron also sells an 80 millimeter travel scope. This price went down as well. It was $140, now it's down to $120 on Amazon, if you trust their quality, but you can find it other places as well, because once Amazon starts dropping the price, other places magically are the same price. It's amazing how that whole thing works. But this is a fun little portable gadget get up. I've got a solar scope that's essentially the same thing. The quality, it's not bad, but just for throwing in my bag and hiking to a hilltop, it works out well. That little travel backpack, and there's a little smartphone adapter that will hook onto here, so you could take pictures of it if you really wanted to. So that's another great little starter scope. For teenagers, as you get bigger, hopefully your ambitions get a little bit bigger. Here's where we start to get some of the bigger Dobbs. Over here is a nice 6-inch Dobb with a couple eyepieces for 450, which isn't bad. Over here, you get a StarSense Dobb, and so this one's going to also have that phone where you can kind of direct it, and it tells you potentially what you're looking at. The big thing about the Dobbs is you got to have the mount and the tube handled somehow. So you're going to need some muscle. So probably don't want to give this to a 5-year-old, but your teenagers potentially should be able to wrangle it. The small go-to SCTs are great for teenagers because it takes a lot of the I don't know anything in the sky out of it. So you point and play. You point to where you want to go on these little controllers, and it'll, as long as you're aligned properly, it'll slew right to it and allow you to view things throughout the night because your target will stay perfectly in center, in theory. There's a whole bunch of these. A lot of them are put out by Celestron. They can go from 350 to these kind of smaller ones up to 3,000 to the really nice big ones, the 11-inchers. So depending on how much you love your teenager, there's a price range here. For those older observers or your favorite astronomy club president, we have these CGEM Edge Celestrons. These things are pretty nice. The 8-inch here goes for 2,900. 11-inch goes for 4,800. So, but usually with these, the more like the price is worth it if you think that that's good for spending money on your hobby. Again, astronomy and astrophotography and all this stuff will take all the money you want to throw at it. So, but they're pretty good quality telescopes. Keith had removed this. I put it back in. I always like to throw this up here because I've always wondered about it. And now that I had access to Keith's files, I was looking around 4,500. You can, like, the technology is advancing a little bit, and I'll show an image here. But these things are monsters. That's not going to be light. The box that holds the mirrors and all that stuff, I think on this 25-incher, this is 150 pounds. So yeah, you don't want to be moving that around too often. This is a 25-inch Obsession telescope. When I did my search an hour before I showed up today, they don't even put the 25-inch on there. And they say, if you would like a 25-inch, there's an $8,000 deposit. So 20K may still be the price. With the previous slide, the 15-inch Classic runs for only 6,000, but inflation, it's now 7,500. So we can just imagine where the 25er is. On there, I'm like, wow, that's a pretty big scope. How would that get around? So they've started making a collapsible, right? So here you see their same same get up, a 22-incher for 12,000, right? So not the 20,000 or whatnot. But as soon as you start looking at it, you're like, how am I gonna move this around? Then you start freaking out. But this thing will collapse and fit into your Corvette. Look at that. That's pretty impressive to stick a 22-inch Dobb in there. So technology on these things is getting great. The Corvette would also be nice for Christmas, so it fit well into the slide. This is what I was talking about, these collapsible Dobbs. 16-inch collapsible Dobb on sale for 3,900. Again, you're still going to have a big monster base that you're going to have to kick around, but compared to the $20,000 price tag or even the $8,000 price tag, it's not too bad. These tubes collapse down for better portability, however much portability you can get out of a 16-inch scope. All right, going from really big to really small. This is kind of where I'm living at right now. This gentleman here that runs the site, galactichunter.com, he did out a little smart telescope roundup, and conveniently I was actually already putting these in here. And so these smart telescopes are wild because You're getting all these different shapes and sizes. There's obviously going to be some high-end expensive ones, and the images you get out of them are pretty amazing. These little ones here aren't too bad in terms of pricing. And so I've got this little guy and its newer relative. And so kind of working our way through there. This is the one that Keith had in here, the Vayanis Vespera Smart Telescope. And it's a cute little thing, about 11 pounds. It's a quad APO, 50 millimeter aperture, nice f4. Pretty decent battery life of 8 hours. The battery life on these things is questionable, depending on hot, cold, what you're doing with it. If you're streaming video, obviously it's going to run down. Use your mobile app with these, so there's no eyepiece, because that would just look funny trying to figure that out. But they also have filters that you can pick up, dual band, light pollution filters, and solar filters. They've come out with a few different models since the original. Now there's a Pro package for 3,000, or the Vespera 2, which is 2,000. And so each of them comes with different features and stuff like that. Not a bad little scope. I haven't heard any complaints about it in terms of people. Keith also had the C-Star S50. The C-Star S50 was put out by ZWO, which is a pretty reputable camera maker. They're getting into mounts, and they run the ASI Air controlling software and little computers. The C-Star S50 has a 50 millimeter aperture and 250 millimeter focal length, and it gives a really good tight image of a lot of these smaller nebula. But one of the things where I see the complaints is like it's almost too zoomed in, right? So people want a little bit bigger, a bigger field of view. At 6.5 pounds, not too heavy. It is kind of bulky and awkward and square, but with built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, you can take this to the middle of nowhere, link to it with your phone, and take pictures all night. All right. Low power consumption, long battery life, 6 hours. Again, your experience may vary. And these came with a solar filter. So imagine how quick these were flying off the shelf when the eclipse was happening, right? So they sold a lot. With the S50 and the Dwarf 2, which we'll see on the next slide, they hit their niche with the eclipse, because people got really interested in the sun, and then they went to the secondhand market. And so you can get these for relatively cheap, but if you want it new, it's still running at 500. ZWO listened to their fan base and came out with a little bit wider field of view, with a 30 millimeter aperture and 150 millimeter focal length. So you get a little bit wider field. I'll show that in a second. It's got an upgraded sensor and about half the weight, and it still hasn't hit yet. So the only videos or only images you can see from it are from influencers who got early access. So whatever you believe out of your favorite YouTuber, you get that. Myself, I've got both of these. On the left is the Dwarf Lab Dwarf 2. On the right is the Dwarf 3. That should be a 3. They've changed the style of a few things. I'm on their beta testing, so I got one of these before anybody else. So it makes me feel a little bit good about myself. There are advantages and disadvantages of each. They both do really good imaging. If you have a old school telescope with 1 1/4 filters, these screw right in, so you can image through those filters. One of the advantages that the Dwarf has that the others don't is that they have a dual camera system. And so one's wide field, one's narrow field. And so it's really nice because they keep updating their softwares. And so if you're on a wide field and you want the moon, and the moon's a little speck over here, you can double tap it and it'll slew right to it. And then you can turn it on telephoto and you're right there. So it's pretty nice with the software. They've changed also from the 2 to the 3. The 2 had batteries that could come out, which nobody understood because they sold 2 batteries with it. But the only way you could charge the batteries was plugging into the Dwarf. So you could, I guess, pull one out if you're in the middle of nowhere and plug one back in. But I've got a battery pack off Amazon. It's 45,000, I think it is, and it runs it for all night. So So most people just buy a little power supply and just plug it in. The filters will screw into this little cap here, and they're held on by magnets. So you just boop, pop them on there, and you're good to go. And if you're done imaging or you want to change filters, you just pop it off. It comes with 2 solar filters, and so I use the dwarf to capture the eclipse as well. The newer model, they changed the filter holder, and so people aren't the happiest about it because you can no longer use your pricey 1 1/4 filters that you picked up. But they provide this solar filter. And with both these scopes and with the C-Star S50, there's a big 3D printing world where people are making different masks that will screw into your 2-inch filters and 1 1/4 filters. But not many people have a 3 in their hand right now. So it's still in infancy. So I imagine that people will start changing that. The other thing to note between these two is that on the left, it came with a 64 gigabyte SD card. Here, everything's internal. So here you have an internal battery. You also have internal storage. So if you wanted to get your everything off of there, you have to plug it into your computer and pull the images off. In terms of comparisons, they're only a year apart. They've essentially listened to a lot of people and started changing some things. A little bit better focal length. The focal ratio is not bad. Limiting magnitude, too bad. I don't know if I'd push 10.4, but you can with the newer software and with the D3, they bumped it up so you can get 60-second exposures. So you can collect some light and not get your star trails. And so that's the beauty of these. The Dwarf 2 at retail, whenever this article was written, was about $460. And like I said, there is an aftermarket here, and people just use them for the eclipse. And so you can find them for $250 to $300 if you don't mind secondhand. The Dwarf 3, it's around $500, but the shipping is still kind of lax. Tony, have you got yours yet? No. Yeah, so they're slowly shipping out, so you're probably not going to get that by Christmas, but you'd be like, here's a picture of the Dwarf 3 and put it in a card on the tree or something. Now, the big thing that I like to point out is this focal length. I guess as you guys caught, I'm a big fan of the Andromeda Galaxy. I asked my friend, he lives up north in Hendersonville, Rick Murray. He has a C-Star, and he has a Dwarf as well, 3 as well. And so he does some really amazing imaging. This was out of my Dwarf 2. This is out of my Dwarf 3. Both of these are non-edited, right? So this is what comes straight out. These are stacked inside the Dwarf themselves. And so you can pull all these images off. Like this, I think, is 60 images stacked together. Over here, it was probably 150 images, because with the Dwarf 2, we were originally limited to 15-second exposures simply because of tracking issues and the way it's built. But when the 3 came out, you get 60-second exposures. So these are 60-second exposures on that middle one. Rick here sent me a raw file of his Andromeda Galaxy. And here you can see, kind of like the focal length that I was talking about. You wouldn't be able to get the full Andromeda Galaxy in the S50. But what C-Star just did is they came out with something called the mosaic mode.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to, I guess, the first meeting of the.
Bad.
Hello?
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. No worries. But Rick does a lot of really good work with his imaging, and so you're able to pull these out. C-Star introduced the mosaic mode, and you set up what you want, and it puts this all together for you. And he takes the files out and he does his picks and cite and editing out. And so I love his work. But yeah, so ZWO does really good with this. And by introducing that mosaic mode, they're going to put a lot of competition out there. So the technology is advancing. They're always coming up with new things. The Dwarf is supposed to be coming out with mosaic because they're kind of in competition with the C-Star for that price range, because what it does is it gets people into the market without spending a lot of money on these things. Now, a lot of money, well, it depends on what you consider a lot of money. Here's an image from Unistellar scope. We'll see it here in a second, EV scope Equinox 2. this is the core of the Andromeda Galaxy. And so this is its focal length. This is from this. And so I have a friend up up towards Clarksville, and he has one of these, the EV Scope 2, but it's the Equinox edition. These Unistellars are pretty good. They're one of the originals that came out. Really good quality, really big price tag. It's on sale though, right? Not bad. Here you can see they're not the lightest things in the world, 20 pounds, but still when you're talking about versus a Dob that could have a 150-pound mirror plate, not bad. Aperture is pretty good. Focal length 450, and check that out. Limiting magnitude of 17. Now, I don't know how well it does. However, he has sent me a lot of pictures up north. He has, my buddy has, come on, change. Oh, the good thing about this is that if you wanted to visually look, you could use it as a visual, whereas all the others are only done through the phone. He has the EV Scope Equinox 2, which runs about 2,000. So it's a little bit newer. No eyepiece on this one. Same weight, same focal length, apparently a better limiting magnitude. So now the one thing I really like about these is that we can't do with the Dwarf or the Sea Star is he can do planetary. And so, you know, it's not bad for just a little thing sitting on the ground. And this was with the Equinox that was 2,000. So depending on the price you want to pay, you get the quality out of these. So smart telescopes, always advancing, technology is always increasing, and everybody's coming out with the next best thing. So there's a few of us here that have some experience with them. So if you have questions, definitely reach out. With those big scopes and things like that, you always need good mounts. One type of mount is the equatorial mounts, where you polar align, and once you're polar aligned, you can get on your target and it'll, you know, slew across the sky. These are great if you're wanting to get into photography or astrophotography. Watch out, it's a wormhole. There's a lot of cool things that you can catch. Ioptron makes a whole bunch of these. They run from 500 7,000, bless you. Obviously the $7,000 ones for kids you really like, or for 500, I know Theo uses an older travel mount, and I have an older Skyguider Pro put out by Ioptron, but those things are still kicking. They have a not too out of a payload, and I think it runs about 450. And so it does a good job for smaller things. For the bigger things, you're going to want one of these true traditional mounts. Here you have the HEQ5 1300. You can go to the 6s for 1700, or a little bit better for 2200, depending on what your tastes are. Celestron has many of these go-to mounts. Again, anywhere 1,000 to 3,800. Astrophysics also has these, but you can get really pricey. Again, depending on how much money you want to put towards it. Mach 2 GTO, I didn't check and see if there was a discount yet, but $11,000. No tube telescope included. So I imagine that if you're going to put $12,000 into a mount, you probably have a pretty good scope that you're going to put on it. So again, whatever you're moving around, there's mounts that can do that for you. Things that have intrigued me, I've been looking into these strain wave mounts that they have. I like that 33-pound capacity without a counterweight, 44 width, just because of the technology in here. And from what I've seen in reviews, that's actually fairly accurate. So you can throw your big old 11-inch on there and it'll twirl it like it's not there. In theory, zero backlash, simply because of the way it's built, can be controlled by an ASI Air or another ASCOM-driven software, and can run in both EQ and Alt-Az. So it's not too bad. 2,000 for this. You don't get a tripod, you don't get a scope, but you get a pretty good mount that should last a while. They also have Alt-Az mounts, and I was looking for more information on this. What you have here is the mount that would sit on a tripod down through here, and you would mount your scope here, and it would point sort of towards the back of the screen. And so with this, it would move and kind of spin that around, and you can tell it where you want to go, and you can take your, it'll send you there. Onboard battery, about 10 hours of use. Again, your use may vary. 33-pound payload. So it can hold quite a bit. Built-in Wi-Fi, built-in GPS. So again, you can take it in the middle of nowhere and you should still be able to access it with your phone. Weighs 13 pounds, so it's got some good heft to it. No tripod or telescope with it, so you'd have to provide your own. And so 1300 at Agena or High Point Scientific. So again, buying a mount and a stable tripod is actually pretty important for if you want to start doing imaging and all that stuff like that. So you got to have something to support all your toys. Now, getting into the stocking stuffers or things that aren't thousands of dollars, there's all sorts of toys out there. I get calendars every year. My family knows that I'm easy to shop for most of the time. But there's stocking stuffers all throughout there. Everybody likes eyepieces. Now, $900 for a stocking stuffer be a pretty big stocking, but you can spend as much money on eyepieces. With these higher end ones, I've never looked through one, and I think I'd be spoiled if I did. So I'm refusing to look through them, but usually from what I've heard, they're pretty good. I have seen, I'm trying to, there's a company, Pegasus Astro, they're coming out with an eyepiece that's actually hooked up to like a Stellarium software, and it plate solves for you as you're looking through the thing. It does imaging. It's actually got a dew heater built into it. They're predicting it'll be out in April. So technology, that'll be on next year's list, I'm sure. But eyepieces are always valuable to have. Also, you need something to carry things with. You're gonna put your eyepieces in, little cooler bags or fish tackle boxes. That's what I have. There's cool little cases. Here you can get these pluck foam cases where you can build. There's another type of pluck foam where you can essentially create these little spots, or you can talk to Steve and he can teach you how to build a case or something like that to carry things around with. You can get $5 at Walmart, or these big nice ones that travel on planes and stuff like that. They can start getting up there in terms of price, but you get good protection out of them. If you have eyepieces, you also need focus, or the eyepieces aren't going to matter. There's a whole host of masks that you can put on that will help with focusing. I've never used the radioactive focusing aid, but still kind of looks cool, where you have the 3 spikes, and then once they all line up, you're in focus. So that's always interesting. I'm more familiar with the Batinov masks here, where when you are centered, the center spike sits right in between the V on the top and the bottom. So those are pretty nice to have. You can find these all over the place. Again, in the 3D printing world, people make these all the time, even for the 11 inchers. So it's really valuable, especially if you do photography, because there's nothing that's worse than spending hours on fuzzy pictures. So those are always important. Filters are always good to go with your eyepieces as well. We have a variety of filters, different colors that will allow through different wavelengths, so you can highlight maybe some planetary features, or there's special filters that will only allow H-alpha through, or that'll block various parts of the spectrum. We have light pollution filters that'll limit some of the light, but it'll kill some of or knock out some of the city lights that are on top of you. These can run really cheap to really expensive, depending on what you're after. There's also solar filters, which I know Bud likes looking at the sun. I love looking at the sun as well. But moon filters are amazing as well. The value of a moon filter is if you're trying to find that little light shining through that little peak of that crater, when you stick your big telescope on that moon, it's going to be bright. And so you get these little filters and it'll knock that light down. So you can manage to stare at the moon for a little bit longer. Things you can attach to that eyepiece that you're going to get from Santa. Astrophotography, if you're wanting to dip your toes in, you don't have to have anything fancy. You don't have to get the new ZWO 2600 with the ASI Air built in, even though that's there. I wish my wife was listening. But there's a whole host of adapters now that will simply attach to an eyepiece. So there's a clamp here or a clamp here. There's a clamp on the backside of this, and then you put your camera so it's looking through the holes, and it just lines up with the eyepiece. I have this. It's the Celestron. I think they call it the Nex YZ. And so what it does is it's got 3 planes, so you can move it in and out, left and right, up and down. I'm a science teacher, and I take these to labs when we have telescope or microscope days, and I let the kids take videos of stuff crawling around. So they love it. So it works the same way for telescopes. So hey, look, it's Saturn. There's rings, and you can change people's lives when they see that. I know it did mine. I've yet to use one of these because for some reason I just that seems a little tricky for me. What I do for my astrophotography on my big scopes is I actually have a T-ring that will lock onto my Nikon, and that T-ring will just slide into the end of my scope. I can screw it in, and so it's like an eyepiece, or it's my camera with a huge lens. And so that's how I do my astrophotography without my dwarf. So it's a real easy way to start taking pictures of things. And then once you start taking pictures, you go, ooh, I wish I could see more. And then you start spending money on the other things. So it's a gateway. All right. Now, if you have a scope, you should be able to protect it. Again, talk to Steve. But price ranges from, not too bad for these kind of softer cases to apparently really expensive where you can park a car on this one. I don't know why you would want to park a car on one, but in case they did, you can protect it there. Also, these little cloaks that you can put over the scopes to keep dew from coming on are pretty valuable, especially when you're doing a Messier marathon. When you're waiting for stuff to come around the sky, you can cover up to try and protect it a little bit. All right. A few things here and there also thrown in here. On the left, these are little, not silicone, I can't remember what the material is, but they go under the feet of your tripods to minimize any, as much shake as possible. And so as you're slewing or as your camera shutter's clicking, there's vibrations coming through, and these will dampen that. And so I've got a set. I put my stuff out on my porch, so I'm not going to get much dampening from my dogs running past me. But whenever I get out in the wild, I use those, and I don't see any negative for them. But it was actually a stocking stuffer I put on there a couple of years back that my wife picked up for me. Always having a red light is valuable. I think that this one, I can't see. Yeah, it says power tank. This one actually comes with a USB charger, right? So you can charge your phone, or if you have one of those smart telescopes, you can run a charge off that. I don't know how big the power tank is, but I'm a big fan of these multi-use tools. I have something like this. It's a portable charger with a hand warmer, and that comes in valuable because as you're fiddling with things, once you get set, you put your hands in your pockets. I've got a few kind of, I don't say they're knockoffs because they work really great, but they're kind of look like little pills like this, and just put them in my pockets and good to go. And so those are out there, and I was amazed to find out that exists. And speaking of power, it's always important to make sure you got enough juice to run all your toys. This one's from Apertura. I use a Jackery. They're pretty good to have out in the field, especially when you're far away from civilization. Planispheres are really good for finding your way around the sky, especially if you're new to the hobby. You can figure out, all right, what day is it, what time is it, and this will line up from where you're at. You'll face north and then flip it above you, and that should be where you're looking. And it gives you an idea of what you can go after in the sky. We do have a recommendation, laminated, because when you're using paper things out or kind of cardboard things out, they get soggy when the dew hits. So there's a lot of different opinions on whether you go blue and white or white and yellow, depending on where you're looking and how much light's in the sky, ambient light. Some of them really do well with the red light from headlamps and things like that. But these are always good to use. I always like the ones that also have little nuggets of information because I like diving down wormholes and I always like to learn about these things. So planispheres, you can get the really small ones to the really big ones, but they're always useful to have. For calendars, these are great. The James Webb Space Telescope's putting out some amazing images, and so people have gathered that. The Astronomical Society puts out a calendar every year. I really like these moon calendars, though they're only good for 1 year, but I guess all calendars are. I put one of these on my wall of my astronomy closet, and so I can be like, all right, when's the next full moon? When do I need to avoid that? And so I can plan my imaging around that. And it's pretty accurate. Tells where it's at depending on the day. There's a lot of fun stocking stuffers, variety of ages. I wish I would have seen these when my kids were younger because those would be fun to play with. There's poster art, stickers, because everybody loves a good sticker. These are all available at the Planetary Society. So pretty good stuff there. There's a host of other items that you can get from like the Astronomical League. Here you can find the Planisphere, fun stickers as well. Any type of swag you're looking for, you could pretty much put an emblem on it and they're going to sell it. So, but a lot of them have good use, right? Like sock cap while you're out there doing your marathon, or your hot cocoa goes in here, or you put your little jacket on, right? This is one of Keith's slides. He's a Lego friend, or Lego fiend. You can spend as much as you want on Legos. When I was younger, we just had a tub of Legos. My parents wouldn't let us do much with them because they didn't like stepping on them, which is fair. As I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of cool things. And then I don't know what I'd do if my $220 lunar rover ended up in the toilet because my 3-year-old wanted to play with it. So this might be an adventure that I embark on a little bit later down the road. What I do like doing is puzzles. And so puzzles, you can get them at all sorts of different shapes and sizes, ages. This one's a $15 one from Target, and this is like 60 inches. So it's a 5-footer and they're really big, nice size. It says for 3 and up. Oh, I've got a 3-year-old. I don't know, but I may get it for him. We'll see. I've actually seen this one in a state park, like kind of an inn. It caught my eye, and then when I was doing some research on it, a little 1,000-piece panoramic with all the planets and stuff, only $18, not bad. Ravensburger down here on the right is really good quality puzzle. This is a little bit more advanced, the observable universe, and so that would be a little bit hard, yeah, with the, but you know, if you like a challenge, right? 1,500 for $30 isn't bad. So there's things for everybody here. If you manage to get one of those big scopes and you need to run it, or you need planetarium software for whatever you're doing, there's a whole host of these. If your favorite person, you know, uses these and they need an update, you can purchase that for them. They can run from free, like Stellarium, which I'm a big fan of, or all the way up to $350 for SkyX, depending on what your needs are. If you're just wanting to know what's up in the sky right now, Stellarium does a really good job. And they also have a web interface, so you don't necessarily need to download their software. Speaking of software, if you are out and about and you do have somewhat cell access, you can use these devices to load you up. A lot of these now have the maps loaded on your phone, so they'll work whenever you're in the middle of nowhere without any reception. I personally, these are from Keith's. I use Sky Safari, Clear Outside. This tells you where the moons of Jupiter. This one tells you where the moons of Jupiter are. Astrospheric is over here. It's a really good forecasting app, and it tells you what kind of viewing you're going to get. Again, this is kind of like you want darker, and so notice Nashville at that point in time was not doing the best, so you would not want to go out there. But this is a really valuable app. I paid for that one because I use it so much. This is the Jupiter Moon one. And so if you ever got Jupiter in your sights and you see 4 little dots, you can figure out what they are. And it's really accurate because it'll flip it, it'll tell you where it's at. You can flip it vertically, flip it horizontally, so you can match whatever field of view you have. It's a pretty nifty little app. And I think that one's actually one of the free ones. So there's a lot of things out there depending on what you're interested in. And if none of that works, we have memberships that you could opt for. Every year we re-up our memberships. It's not horribly expensive, but it's the thought that counts, right? Regular membership 25, family 35, seniors 20, and for the students 15 because they need all the help they can get. Or the Adventure Science Center is always a great place to send people to learn about things and become curious around about the world around them. I did see when I pulled this QR code up today and built this, there is a $10 off right now. So you can get this for $95. It said limited time. So who knows if that's like today and tomorrow, or I got lucky tonight. But that's available as well. Places that Keith used to put this together. I tried to stick to these when I was going down my wormholes. Agena Astro, astronomics.com, High Point Scientific, Astronomical Society of the Pacific, Planetary Society, Astronomical League. Could throw on there Amazon, Target as well. There's a lot of places where you can find cool, fun things to spend your money. Any questions? Let's wrap through that thing. Perfect. Yeah.
Can you recommend software for beginners for stacking images and that kind of stuff?
It depends on if you're wanting to spend money. There is a really good freeware out there called Cyril. There is a bit of a learning curve with it. We have a couple people that use it. I'm sure that could help out. It's SIRIL. Yep, Deep Sky Stacker. There's obviously there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve with these, but great images come out of that as well. Steve, you got any others that you use?
I love Deep Sky.
Yeah.
It's a less learning curve than Cyril.
Yeah.
I use both, but
Yeah.
And there's really good YouTube. Here's how you start.
Yeah.
Training.
Yeah. You'll, as you start getting into astrophotography, you'll hear a lot about PixInsight, which is great software, but there's a $250 price tag and there's a steep learning curve. Cyril is more of a freeware version of that, like an open source kind of thing. So a lot of it is free. Now there are things that you can buy that people put out their codes and stuff like that to help you do things. But that's more of like, there's again, a learning curve with that. But yeah, Deep Sky Stacker is really good. Good deal. Any other questions?
It's not really a question, but I don't know how good it is. But when I was at Costco in Brentwood the other day, and they had a telescope there. It was like $199, very similar. I think it was a Celestron.
Yeah.
Like 102 millimeter. But I was looking online, I was like, what do they have other ones? They do have a 10-inch truss Dobsonian for $5.99. It's an Explorer Scientific. I don't know a lot about them. But I mean, it's a smaller dot. It's not a huge dot. I mean, it's probably half the size. But I was like, that's not a bad price for a 10-inch dot.
Yeah. Will it fit in your Corvette? No.
Well, I do not. On top.
On top, yeah. Well, cool. Yeah.
About some of the mounts that were in the slideshow there that didn't come with a tripod. Is that just a normal, like 1/4-inch mount?
They're either quarter or 3/4. Or half, I think it is. Depending on, like, a lot of them will have multiple mounting options.
Sure.
Yeah. The standard is the quarter for like your cameras and stuff like that, but I think it's 3/8. Is that what?
3/8.
Yeah, 3/8 is the typical one that tripods for this uses. A little bit sturdier. Yeah. Yeah, there's a host of tripods out there that'll work. Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, those big mounts usually come with a saddle.
Yeah.
You have a dovetail plate that attaches to the telescope and so forth. So it's
Yeah.
they either they come in 2 flavors. You got the Losmandy kind or the Vixen kind.
One of them doesn't play well with the other. I can't remember which.
Well, one's a lot narrower than the other.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was trying to marry 2 pieces together and they definitely were not And that's when I dove down that rabbit hole as well. What I've done for my stuff at home is I found a video recording tripod, like one that they use the old the old recorders on. That sucker is sturdy. And I just use that, and it's rock solid. So again, if you're spending 10,000 on a scope, don't skimp on the tripod. But if you're just needing something to put one of those mounts on, then it'll probably handle it pretty good. Yeah. The secondhand market is great. Yeah, I got that one off YouTube, or not YouTube, but eBay. It works great. Yeah. And any other questions? Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Remember, next month's meeting, we have the potluck and silent auction. If you're interested in potentially filling one of those board spots, send me a message, or any of our board members here. Come grab us and we'll talk. All right. Great. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Be safe if you're traveling. All right. Well, that was,
Thanks, Ken.
yeah, thank you. Hey, Theo, did you see how many people were logged on?
There were 7 of us logged on.
Yeah. Perfect.
Were we on YouTube? Because I couldn't find it live.
Forgot the button. I forgot the button. I was just so
Okay.
excited that I managed to get the audio turned on. I'll pull it off and put it on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll do that when I get home because it'll probably take a while to upload it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good deal. All right. What's that behind you, Theo, on your left?
Okay.
Your
There's
other
my
left.
left, and then there's a lot to
Your left.
So this one.
Yeah.
So this is a poster from the state park that we were at, Garner State Park in Texas. They saw
Gotcha.
both of the eclipses, the annular and the solar eclipse.
Oh, that's cool.
So we were just there for the very cloudy.
Yeah. Well,
eclipse.
that's what, yeah. I think as I'd seen pictures of that because I saw that you were going there. And so I was Googling it. I'm like, that kind of looks familiar. So yeah, well, cool.
Yeah. It's
All
a
right.
nice, I mean, people were there because it's the Frio River. And, if you're in Texas, rivers that you can tube on just aren't everywhere. So people are there for that.
Yeah. When we lived in West Texas, my dad would always joke that people kept telling him the best fishing in the world's in Texas. And we lived in West Texas where there was no water. And so my dad's sitting here trying to figure out where everybody was going with their boats. He thought they were just going north to Missouri or something like that. So somebody fell for it, or there's a great marketing program going on.
Right.
So yeah. They do. Yeah. With the lakes there. Yeah. I'm from up there. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close off our meeting. Thank you guys for attending Zoom online. Hopefully catch up to you guys next month.